Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel Global Times USA. Please subscribe and like my videos, because today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking developments of the Russia-Ukraine war that has captured the attention of the entire world. Ukraine has launched a massive drone onslaught with 93 strikes targeting different sites inside Russia, shaking not only Moscow, but also the international community watching closely. To understand this event in depth, let's break it down the way we usually do by analyzing the exterior, the interior, the performance, the safety features, the unique selling points, the price, and finally the conclusion that puts this dramatic escalation into perspective. From the exterior, the picture is immediately dramatic and overwhelming. The strikes themselves are not just symbolic gestures, but powerful demonstrations of Ukraine's evolving drone warfare capability. What the world saw was not one or two isolated strikes, but a carefully coordinated swarm of nearly 100 drones, creating an exterior impression of scale and precision. The exterior also reflects how modern warfare has shifted from traditional ground clashes to highly technological confrontations where unmanned systems dominate. The drones represent not just military tools, but also the visible face of Ukraine's strategy to show strength, resilience, and adaptability against a much larger opponent. Their exterior image is sleek, hard to detect, and difficult to intercept, which means from the outside looking in, this wave of drones represents both power and fear for those on the receiving end. Russia's cities, infrastructures, and symbolic assets suddenly found themselves under a canopy of buzzing machines, and the exterior impact of such strikes was both physical and psychological. For the international audience, the exterior effect was one of shock, because it visibly exposed Russia's vulnerability in a way that had rarely been witnessed since the conflict began. Moving into the interior, we find an even deeper layer of complexity, and here is where the story truly expands. The interior of this operation lies not only in the drones themselves, but in the planning, coordination, and execution that Ukraine has put into developing such a strategy. On the inside, these drones are equipped with advanced navigation systems, GPS guidance, and in many cases, warheads designed to hit fuel depots, military bases, and industrial facilities. The interior of Ukraine's drone program has been quietly developed with support from both domestic innovation and international partners. This long interior buildup shows how Ukraine has evolved its defense capability from relying on traditional artillery to creating a layered approach where drones play a central role. On the inside, these strikes signify not just an attack on Russia, but also an interior boost for Ukraine's morale and confidence. The message inside Ukraine is that they are not powerless, and they can project force deep into Russian territory. This psychological interior effect cannot be underestimated because it boosts civilian morale at home, strengthens international sympathy, and signals to allies that their support is yielding tangible results. Inside Russia, the interior feeling is very different. The strikes penetrate the illusion of security within Russian borders, bringing the war to ordinary citizens who had been told it was only happening in Ukraine. The interior response in Moscow and other regions is one of anxiety, fear, and anger. People feel unsafe, and the government faces pressure to explain how such a vast drone wave could not be fully stopped despite sophisticated air defense systems. The interior also reflects the hidden costs of such strikes. Resources, budgets, and political capital all come under strain when a nation like Russia must divert attention to defending against unmanned threats. On the broader international interior, this drone wave reveals how the conflict has crossed into a new technological stage where drones have become the backbone of modern warfare. Unlike tanks or jets, drones are cheaper, faster to produce, and easier to deploy, meaning that even a country under immense strain like Ukraine can create a powerful deterrent capability. The interior message to the world is clear. In the 21st century, smaller nations can challenge larger powers not by matching them tank for tank, but by out-maneuvering them with intelligent technology. This long interior insight shows why this wave of 93 drones is not just a single event, but a reflection of the future of warfare itself. When we shift focus to performance, the results speak for themselves. Out of 93 drones, many successfully penetrated deep into Russian airspace, striking sensitive areas, while others forced Russia to activate and deplete its expensive defense systems. The performance of Ukraine's drone strategy is effective not only in terms of damage inflicted, but also in terms of cost efficiency. For Ukraine, each drone represents a relatively inexpensive investment compared to the millions spent by Russia to intercept them. Performance here also covers endurance, precision, and adaptability. These drones are capable of flying long distances, navigating through difficult weather, and striking with accuracy that traditional artillery cannot match. Their performance underlines the changing dynamics of military balance in this war, proving that Ukraine can project strength despite limitations in manpower and conventional weaponry. Performance is not only measured by destruction, but by the disruption caused, forcing Russia to shut down airports, reroute flights, activate radars, and spread defenses thin across a vast territory. Each of these outcomes highlights how performance in drone warfare is multidimensional. Safety features may sound unusual when talking about war machines, but in this context, it refers to how drones alter the safety dynamics for both Ukraine and Russia. For Ukraine, drones provide a safer method of striking back because they remove the need to send pilots into hostile airspace where they could be killed or captured. The safety feature here is the ability to project power without sacrificing lives directly in combat. For Russia, however, the safety equation flips. The drone onslaught exposes weaknesses in air defense, meaning that safety for Russian civilians is diminished. The fact that these drones could penetrate multiple layers of defense systems shows that the traditional safety net Russians believed in has holes. For the international community, the safety aspect highlights the risk of escalation. Each strike raises the danger of retaliation, and global observers worry about the safety of Europe, NATO, and other regions if the conflict spirals out of control. Safety features in drone warfare are therefore a double-edged sword. While they keep one side's fighters safer, they make civilian areas on both sides more vulnerable. The unique selling points of this massive drone wave are clear. First, it shows Ukraine's ingenuity and determination, turning limited resources into an asymmetric advantage. Second, it demonstrates the symbolic power of reaching into the heart of Russia, undermining the narrative of invulnerability that Moscow tries to project. Third, it signals to Ukraine's allies that continued support in terms of technology, funding, and training is not wasted but directly translates into meaningful battlefield results. Fourth, the unique selling point lies in cost-effectiveness. Drones are cheap, replicable, and scalable, giving Ukraine a weapon that it can produce and deploy at scale without crippling its economy. Finally, the unique selling point is psychological impact. No missile or tank movement generates as much shock in the digital age as swarms of drones captured on video, spreading across social media and news platforms, amplifying their impact far beyond the battlefield. When it comes to price, we have to consider both literal and figurative costs. Literally, Ukraine's drones cost anywhere between a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars each, depending on their range and payload. Russia, by contrast, spends millions operating its S-400 air defense systems or launching interceptors to stop them. This imbalance creates a price dynamic where Ukraine gains far more value from each strike than Russia can offset. Figuratively, the price is also political. Russia pays the price in credibility, in public confidence, and in the burden of defending an enormous homeland against small, elusive machines. Ukraine also pays a price: retaliatory strikes, energy shortages, and the constant fear of escalation, but the symbolic price it extracts from Russia is arguably larger. For the international community, the price of this new phase of warfare is a recognition that conflicts are no longer limited to traditional boundaries, and the price of ignoring this evolution is unpreparedness. In conclusion, the massive drone onslaught of 93 strikes is not just another chapter in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but a turning point that shows where modern warfare is heading. From the exterior, we see the spectacle of overwhelming swarms. From the interior, we uncover the strategic depth and psychological effects. In performance, drones prove to be disruptive and efficient. Safety features alter the balance by protecting one side's fighters while endangering civilians. Unique selling points highlight cost-effectiveness, psychological warfare, and symbolic reach. The price dynamic shows the disproportionate burden placed on Russia compared to Ukraine. Together, all these factors build a comprehensive picture of why this event shocked the world. The world now understands that wars are no longer only about tanks, trenches, and missiles, but about technology, adaptability, and the ability to think differently. Ukraine's drone wave represents a story of resilience, innovation, and determination, and whether one supports or opposes the players involved, it is undeniable that the impact of these strikes will echo through military strategy and global politics for years to come. That is why this drone onslaught stands as one of the most defining moments of the modern era of conflict.